Oh, we're going there. Sorry, I didn't know.
Hi, I was just wondering what you think about the playing field for the 2012 elections.
What I think about what?
The playing field for the 2012 elections.
Well, I'll put it in a nutshell. If we don't run Chris Christie, Romney will be the nominee and we'll lose. If we don't run Chris Christie, Romney will be the nominee and we'll lose. And the most important issue in this election isn't so much why I'm for Romney, and I think he is the most conservative candidate of the four who remain right now, and Gingrich the most liberal. I think I don't like to attack Republicans. Many of them have excellent characteristics, and they're good in the positions they're in now, and I support them in their positions as representatives or governor or Fox News host. I don't like to attack Republicans. And by the way, I think it's not putting so much stress on the debates. There are going to be at most 2 debates between the Republican nominee and the president, and it's not going to be a bunch of Tea Partiers in the audience. They're going to be Democrats, and based on Gingrich's past experience, he sucks up to whatever audience he's in front of.
He's going to yell at them.
He will not. No, when he's asked about the Paul Ryan plan last year.
He's the Avenger guy now.
No. It's whatever the audience is. He loved global warming when he had that audience. He hated the Paul Ryan plan when he was in front of a mainstream media audience.
I think he's found his groove and he's going to run it.
Whatever the audience wants him to say, and I think these attacks on the media have been really depleting the well of sentiment against the liberal media. That is a serious issue, and he keeps going back to it to protect himself from his infidelities.
You've written books on that.
Yes, I have, and because of that, I think it's a serious issue, and it's like Jesse Jackson going around accusing, people of racism when his mistresses come out. What does Newt Gingrich use it for? For a perfectly legitimate question that is shaking up the entire news media, that John King, who is a completely fair and honest reporter, I don't care if he works for CNN, he may be the only fair person over there, starts that with the question he's got to ask.
Yeah, but he shouldn't have started at first.
I disagree. It's hanging over Newt Gingrich's head the whole debate otherwise. That is so picky and petty, and if this were a Democrat, we'd be screaming bloody murder if that question had not been asked.
Okay, look, I wouldn't be screaming anything, but you're wrong in this sense. That is old news. What ABC ran was old news, and I told that to Brian Ross. There was no new ground.
It's the headline on Drudge. It was the lead story on Fox News.
It's old news.
Okay, and let's go to another really vicious mainstream media reporter, Bret Baier, who asks Newt Gingrich why his whole staff abandoned him, and does this suggest some sort of disorganization? And that Newt refused to answer, attacking Bret Baier, calling it a gotcha question. It's not a gotcha question.
But Romney did the same thing with Bret Baier.
This is a serious issue the way real racism is a serious issue, but it has been wiped away by frauds and charlatans bringing up racism whenever they want a defense for something, just like Newt Gingrich, who doesn't want to answer a question, who wants to cover it for his infidelities, who apparently can't answer on health care. Another time he yelled at the moderators, I need 3 hours to answer that question. He is depleting this well of an important issue, and the most important issue in this election isn't so much why I'm for Romney, and I think he is the most conservative candidate of the four who remain right now, and Gingrich the most liberal. It is, how do we get the most votes? Because if we don't defeat Obama in 2012, Obamacare is here to stay. Newt Gingrich will call plans to reform it.
We, the Republicans, is that what you're talking
right-wing social engineering. I'm talking about the country, because we will go the way of Western Europe. It will
I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong on this, on the media thing. I think that Gingrich understood the timing of this and the exploitation of it, because there was no corroboration from what his wife said. None.
He's admitted he's had 2 affairs.
That wasn't it. The only thing that was taken out of that whole thing was the open marriage deal that she said. Everything else was the same.
All he did was say, do you want to respond? And by the way, ABC was the first one to start reading from the Starr Report. They're the ones who had the first interview with Jesse Jackson mistress. They are not playing favorites here, by the way. It's the biggest story in the media.
The timing of it
The idea that he wouldn't be asked about that, and are you going to defend him on denouncing Bret Baier's completely legitimate question?
I'm not going to defend anybody on anything. It's not my job to do that. My job is to point out.
He's abusing a real issue.
We got that point. Here's my job. My job to be fair, all right? And he was ambushed by this, by ABC and by the lead question. That's not the most important question in the debate.
Was he ambushed by little...
That question could have been asked by King halfway through.
I disagree. We're moving on now. I disagree. We're moving on. Was he ambushed by, Fox and Friends on Saturday, asking them to respond to, the ethics violations?
No.
Well, he starts screaming at Fox and Friends, and I thought Fox was fair and balanced. I'm getting sick of this because this is a real issue, and you should care about this, and right-wingers should care about this, but most importantly, right-wingers should care. Just close your eyes, look up at Newt and Callista, and think to yourself, are these people ever going to be president and first lady? Because the answer is no, America. We need to get independent voters.
If they ride a populist wave, they ride a populist wave, and Romney doesn't come and bring something to stop them, they could get it.
He can never be president.
Look, I think the odds are still with Romney. I think, to be fair, he's got
Look,
those
after
are the
a few
odds.
years when he was Speaker,
Gingrich did some serious damage to the Romney campaign in South Carolina, and that's the fact.
He has only been elected in one small little Republican district. That's the only way he has shown that he can be elected any place. After a few years,
hang on. Florida?
I get the last word.
Will you change?
I get the last word. After a few years as Speaker, not only did his whole party turn against him, saying you're roadkill, you're ruining the Republican Party, but the vast majority of Americans in polls said he was scary and extremist, out of touch. Right now, his unfavorables. No, I don't like Obama, and this is going to be an historic landslide if Gingrich is the candidate.
Okay, Ann Coulter, everybody.
I'm going to make an observation. This may rub some people the wrong way, but so be it. But I think the vast majority of you in my audience will agree with me. There are certain campaigns on the Republican side that are absolutely vicious. Now, some are more vicious and in your face about it. Others are vicious and try to be operating under the radar. Just vicious and in your face vicious. Then there's the Romney campaign, who has all its surrogates, including some of my friends who are just vicious about this. Now, I look at Rove on TV. Rove pretends to be an analyst. Rove is not an analyst. Rove is a Mitt Romney cheerleader. And I really think if these guys are going to be on news shows and be called on for, giving their analyses, then there ought to be something other than their name or something of the sort that says a Romney supporter, or for that matter, a Gingrich supporter, a Santorum, whatever. My dear friend Ann Coulter has gone over the edge. She's putting out what are, in essence, Romney opposition research talking points. Why do we have to destroy Newt Gingrich? Can't we just debate these issues? But Romney's people are more underhanded about it. They have an enormous amount of opposition research, these big files, they're putting them out, and really, these campaigns get people passionate and excited. And it's going to destroy reputations and careers because you get caught up in this stuff and you become a cheerleader for one of these people. You can be a cheerleader. You can be a cheerleader, but be an honest cheerleader. To say that in this field that Romney's the most conservative, you got to be smoking something. You've got to be smoking something. You can argue he's electable, he's this, you like his looks, his transformation over the last 5 or 6 years is okay, fine. Fine. Say what you want. Argue what you want on his behalf. Oh, but he's not the most conservative in the field. That's pretty pathetic.
And the most important issue in this election isn't so much why I'm for Romney, and I think he is the most conservative candidate of the four who remain right now, and Gingrich the most liberal.
When Ronald Reagan was president of the United States from 1981 to 1989, by the time his presidency was over, we knew he was one of the greatest presidents in American history. And yet 5 years later, when Romney's running against Ted Kennedy, he's trashing Ronald Reagan. At that point, Romney's a full adult, a thinking, mature adult. He just experienced one of the greatest presidencies in American history. He saw with his own 2 eyes what capitalism can do when a president of the United States unleashes it. He saw with his own 2 eyes the commander-in-chief who led the defeat of the Soviet Union and won the Cold War, who chased the communists out of Latin America. And Mitt Romney, 5 years later, trashed Ronald Reagan. And I have to be lectured by Karl Rove, who never was a Reaganite, and Ann and others that he's the big conservative and that Santorum is not, or for that matter, Newt Gingrich is not, or for that matter, Rick Perry is not? Who's fooling whom around here? Who's fooling whom around here? And I'm supposed to worry about this little vote or that little vote. I want somebody in the Oval Office who I know in his heart and in his soul and in his mind is a conservative, confident about it, consistent with it. And if you didn't know by 1994, that Ronald Reagan, that his administration, that the accomplishments over that 8-year period after he took over from Jimmy Carter wasn't one of the greatest presidents in history, even if you didn't know that, to try and distance yourself from it and try, well, then they tell, well, he was running for governor. Always with the situational ethics, have you noticed? Always with the situational principles. Well, he was running for governor of a blue state. So what? So what? What does that have to do with anything? Still stand on your principles, and you win, and you win or you lose. To say that in this field that Romney's the most conservative, you got to be smoking something. You've got to be smoking something. You can argue he's electable, he's this, you like his looks, his transformation over the last 5 or 6 years is okay, fine. Fine. Say what you want. Argue what you want on his behalf. Oh, but he's not the most conservative in the field. That's pretty pathetic.